Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I have scoured the internet, the likes of Twitter, Reddit, and other various social media platforms for every single possible leak we have about the next Battlefield game. So this is going to be a everything we currently know about the next Battlefield game video. It's very important to state up front that a lot of this is subject to change because obviously these are leaks and this is Battlefield Labs and they're probably testing a lot of things. So don't be surprised if everything rounded up in this video changes in the future in some way. So let's get into things. We've got a lot to go over. Reminder, if you do enjoy the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you to everyone that does that. And I also stream every single day, so if you didn't know that, all links are in the description. I typically start around 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just to give you guys an idea of when I go live. Alright, so the first thing I want to get out of the way is unfortunately I cannot actually show any of the leaks in this video. I'm so sorry. I know you guys have seen them online, I just can't put them in the video. Just to establish some baseline information, the game does not have an official title yet. It has not been announced. Its working name is apparently Glacier, and the game setting is set in the very, very near future at about 2028, and the game is clearly very modern. The next thing I'll cover very briefly is some people on Reddit were actually trying to compile a list of known weapons in the game so far that people have identified, and so far we have the Galil, the G336K, G3A3, TAR-21, SCAR-L, M4A1, AK-12, CM7, MPX, Chris Vector, MP5, UMP45, MP7, XM250, M249, M27 IAR from Battlefield 3, RPK, AR-15, and M60. I don't think the AR-15 designation is necessarily correct. But moving on, in the marksman rifle category, we have something called, quote, DMR-4, which looks like some sort of very strange, maybe Chinese-designed DMR. That's just pure speculation on my part. Then we have the very famous MK14 EBR and the SVCH DMR. So those are just the weapons that they have identified so far. And keep in mind, all of this stuff is subject to change, and they could very well be misidentifying some of these weapons. The next thing I want to talk about is the way the classes work in this next Battlefield game. There are 4 classes, and it appears that the medic and support classes have been melded into one. That is correct, ladies and gentlemen. No more medic and support being different classes. Now we have assault, engineer, support, and recon. And for each of these classes, they come with perks. It's not clear whether or not this is some sort of system built off of the system in Battlefield 4 where you have squad perks, and that even reaches back to Battlefield 3. But just for instance, the recon perks are Sniper Tree, Despicable, Killshot, and Mortar Support. These 4 perks are accessible by seemingly getting squad XP. Again, that's speculation, but it does say different levels next to these different perks. So that means you can probably unlock them and upgrade while you're playing the game, or just unlock these benefits while you're actually playing. The Sniper Tree perk for the recon basically spots people by aiming at them. It eliminates weapon sway and you gain resistance to spotting. Despicable makes it so when you shoot someone in the chest with a bolt action, they heal slower and they're spotted, which is insane. Killshot makes it so if you headshot someone with a bolt action, they cannot be revived, which is something they are bringing back from Battlefield Hardline, my chat told me when I was streaming today. And the last one is Mortar Support. It basically says you can call in a mortar strike wherever you're aiming. This is absolutely crazy perks for the recon class. And I know full well that a lot of these are obviously up to change, but this sounds kind of annoying to play against. I mean, you're getting aimed at by a sniper and you're spotted, then he hits you and you can no longer heal very quickly, then he calls in a mortar strike in your location, and if he headshots you, you can't be revived. That is a ton of power to the recon class. And I don't necessarily agree with it. I think this is ultimately going to be very, very irritating if no changes are made to some of these perks. Because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of the snipers you play against in Battlefield kind of just grief your gameplay. They don't necessarily get kills, they just sort of hit you for 60 damage from a location that you can't necessarily discern, and they're just kind of annoying. So, you know, we'll see how this plays out. Moving on to the support class, which is combining the support class and the medic class into one class just called support. Their level 1 medic perk is called Medical Triage. You gain faster reviving, dragging, and improve supply crates and healing while reviving, which is really insane. And yes, they did mention Soldier Dragging. Soldier Dragging is in this next Battlefield title. I'll briefly comment on what I think about soldier dragging. Ultimately, I just don't really see a need for it. I didn't really understand people complaining that it wasn't in Battlefield 5. Obviously, as a streamer and as an avid, content creator for Battlefield, the first thing that comes into my mind when soldier dragging gets mentioned is people just using it for trolling and griefing other players. But I could also see it being used in very niche scenarios where you actually do need to drag someone into cover in order to revive them. But, couldn't you just smoke them? Like, I've never had a problem with doing that anyway. Getting back to talking about the support class's perks, the level 2 perk is called Crate Heal Plus, and it improves the supply crate's healing rate. The third perk is called Perimeter Defense, and it increases the recharge rate of defensive gadgets, and it quote, increases their capabilities. It is very unclear what that means right now. And the last perk in the support class is called Active Medic, and it looks like it's essentially a super revive mode. To activate this super revive mode, you hit a combination of buttons and you heal others as if you yourself were a heal crate, and you revive much faster for a limited time. These perks for the support class also sound incredibly effective. But we still have 2 more classes to go over, so be sure to let me know your thoughts on these in the comment section so far, because this is definitely a, to my knowledge, new system coming to Battlefield, unless it is building off of the squad perk system we saw in Battlefield 4. Moving on to the Engineer class perks, the Engineer is specifically designated to be anti-vehicle, as you would expect, and it has a repair tool. Its level 1 perk is Anti-Armor Tree, and you slow down vehicles you heavily damage, gain extra rockets, and reveal vehicles when you damage them. That level 1 perk is already incredibly strong. The level 2 perk is called Dogpile, and it makes you reload rocket launchers faster. Level 3 is called Mark Target. Vehicles you damage or spot are easier to lock onto, so that makes it easier for people that you're playing with that are maybe using SOFLAMs or some sort of javelin to lock onto vehicles. And the level 4 perk is Thermite Drone, and you press a button to deploy a suicide drone capable of disrupting vehicles. Oh boy. I guess let's just hope that's only effective against vehicles and not effective against infantry, because I could see that being used sometimes in like extreme CQC areas, namely metro type maps. And lastly, we're going to cover the Assault class. It looks like the Assault class in this game may retain its Med Pen, which is a self-heal from Battlefield 2042. Its perks are level 1, Grenadier, carry more grenades. Level 2, Flak, resistance to explosive damage. Level 3, Gadget Reload, which makes you reload your gadgets faster. And finally, level 4, you basically have a super anti-flak mode where you gain extreme damage resistance against explosives for a short period of time. And the last thing I'll mention about the classes is, judging off of the gameplay that I have seen so far, it doesn't appear to me that weapons are locked to classes like they would have been in, say, Battlefield 3. However, I could very well be wrong. Overall, all of these squad perks and class perk system, it sounds pretty cool. Some of them sound really, really irritating, while others sound fairly underwhelming and basic. We'll have to see how this pans out. I do think it is a very cool concept, though. The next thing I want to briefly touch on is the movement. Unfortunately, due to the, let's say, skill level of the people leaking the gameplay in the Battlefield Labs playtest, we can't really get a good look at what the movement is truly like in this. We can only gather, like, some fairly basic information as to what features are available. Based on what I've seen, you can jump peek in the game, you can shoot while jumping, you can crouch run, you can drag soldiers. There is a very short and what looks to be a very restrictive slide in the game, very similar to 2042's, where it seems to lock you in one direction for a short period of time. And past that, it is very, very difficult to judge anything. We really have to wait to get our hands on the game to know anything more about the movement system, unfortunately. And the same has to be said about the gunplay. We really have to get our hands on the game to know everything. But what I do know, just from searching around, is that this game's gunplay seems to have a more heavy emphasis on older Battlefield-style gunplay, like from Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. There was a screenshot at one point from a loading screen where it has a tooltip, and the tooltip was saying you essentially have to burst fire to retain accuracy with your weapons. So it makes me think the gunplay in this game is going to have more spread, which is good, because those of you that played Battlefield 2042 at launch will know the engagement distances of that game were just absolutely ludicrous, and that game desperately needed spread to sort of reduce that. So I'm happy to see that happen in this next Battlefield game, but we don't know to what extent. We really do have to get our hands on the game to know. But judging from the gameplay, it does look like you can hit people with full auto weapons from quite a distance still. I would say a good player could easily beam you and instantly kill you, really, from about 50, 60 meters still, if they're pretty accurate. So that falls in line with what's normal-ish for Battlefield titles anyway. And while I'm on the topic of gunplay, I might as well briefly talk about the TTK. The TTK didn't look out of place to me. It looked fairly standard for a Battlefield game. Briefly touching on the vehicle experience, it appears that there may be a return of Battlefield 5's limited vehicle ammo or vehicle attrition system to this game. We did see vehicle ammo resupply stations, and tanks had to go back and resupply their ammo. So that is pretty interesting. I wonder if that will stay or if that is only being tested in this version of the game. Moving on to discussing the UI and some of the audio design features people were pointing out during the gameplay. The UI, namely the infantry UI, looks a bit discombobulated in my opinion. There's just a lot of information on screen, and I would like to see it condensed. Obviously, you have all your normal things like your minimap and your information readouts like your health and ammo and your gadgets and all that sort of stuff. But the kill feed and all these other sort of UI elements just seemed really strangely placed, and it didn't look finished. Of course it doesn't, because it's like the first time we've ever seen the game, but hopefully they do improve upon that. In terms of the audio stage and just how everything feels, it's absolutely a drastic improvement to my ears over Battlefield 2042, and it's more in line with what people want from Battlefield, like really impressive sounds. It just sounds beefy, like especially weapon shooting. The weapon audio in Battlefield 2042 was extremely criticized by myself and many others for just being wimpy a lot of the times. There were a couple outliers, but in general it could have had vast improvements, and it looks like they did that in the next game. The same can be said for the rest of the audio, because getting shot at just seems scarier, tank shells flying past you seems scarier, things blowing up sound cooler, and that really makes a massive impact in terms of how the game feels to play. And I will also extend that to the look of this next Battlefield game. Obviously, we only got to look at one map, but even looking at one map with the new destruction and the visuals and all that sort of thing, it does look more like a proper Battlefield title. It's more in line with what people expect, in my opinion, which is why I think the reception of this Battlefield title is more positive right now, even though many people haven't even gotten the chance to play it. So that is going to be all that I can scrounge up for what we know so far about this next Battlefield title. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed the content and plan on following Battlefield, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thank you to everyone that does that. Swing by the stream's first link in the description, as well as all the other links. Thank you guys for watching. And I'm interested to read the comment section on this video, because this is early days. You know, we don't typically see leaks of the next Battlefield title, particularly gameplay, this early. So this is going to be a big marker for me in terms of what you guys are thinking. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.